Hello chess lovers. Like and subscribe for more games and analysis. Control of the center with c4, preparing to develop other pieces and potentially creating space for the bishop on c5.
Pawn to c5.
This is a book move. The opening is called English opening, Symmetrical Variation.
Developing the knight to a strong central square, preparing to control the pawn to d5 square and supporting the pawn on c5, while also eyeing the kingside and preparing to develop other pieces.
Pawn to g3 is the best move.
Pawn to d6 is best.
Pawn to e3.
Preparing to develop the queenside pawns and potentially create space for the knight to attack the pawn to d5 pawn, while also supporting the central pawn structure.
Preparing to control the kingside and potentially create space for the bishop on g4, while also eyeing the pawn to d5 pawn and preparing to develop the dark squared bishop.
Knight to c6 is good. This develops a knight. Pawn to d5 is best. This offers a trade.
Bishop to g2.
Pawn to b5 is good. This offers a trade. This attacks a pawn. Pawn to d5 is best. This offers a trade. This attacks the pawn.
Pawn to b3.
Preparing to develop the bishop and controlling the pawn to d5 square, while also supporting the pawn on c5. This move also slightly weakens the kingside, but it's a small price to pay for the potential to launch a pawn storm on the queenside.
Castling kingside, preparing to control the center and supporting the pawn structure, while also connecting the rooks and putting pressure on black's position.
Kingside castle.
Pawn to d4 is best. This offers a trade.
Pawn catches on d4 is the best move.
I played pawn captures on c4 to challenge black's control of the center and create space for my pieces to develop. The pawn structure also prepares for potential pawn breaks on the queenside.
Knight to a5 is best. This attacks the pawn. This move gains a tempo.
Rook to b1 is best. This develops a rook. By placing the rook on an open file, it controls important columns.
Pawn captures on d4.
Pawn captures on d4 is best.
Rook to a7.
Pawn to d5.
Knight captures on c4 is best.
I played bishop to f4 to attack Malik's pawn on f5, preparing to develop the rest of my pieces and putting pressure on his position. This move also pins Malik's knight on c6, making it harder for him to maneuver.
I played pawn captures on d5 to challenge black's pawn structure and create space for my pieces to develop. The pin on black's knight on pawn to c4 was also a consideration, as it would have been difficult for black to defend against the potential attack on their pawn on d5.
Knight captures on d5.
Rook to b7.
I played knight to d4 to attack black's pawn on d5, creating a potential pin on black's knight on d5. This move also prepares to develop the rest of my pieces and control the center of the board.
Knight captures on d5.
Bishop captures on d5.
Rook captures on b1 is best. This is a trade.
Queen captures on b1.
I played knight to b6 to challenge black's pawn structure and prepare for potential pawn breaks on the queenside. The move also pins black's knight on c6, making it difficult for them to maneuver.
Bishop to e4 is best.
Developing the bishop to a strong central square, preparing to control the kingside and potentially attacking black's position, while also supporting the pawn on c5.
Rook to d1.
Knight to f4 is inaccuracy. The opponent can play bxh7+. Pawn to g6 is best.
Queen to b4 is inaccuracy. This move leaves pieces vulnerable to a fork. This permits the opponent to attack a piece. The opponent can play k7. Bishop captures on h7, check is best.
Rook to e8 is mistake. This move leaves alekhine on a fur. There was a missed fork with k7. A chance to attack a queen with k7 was missed. This permits the opponent to attack a piece. The opponent can play bc2. Queen to e7 is best. This offers a trade. This creates a fork on queen and bishop.
Bishop to f3 is inaccuracy. A chance to attack a knight with bc2 was missed. The opponent can play bxd4. Bishop to c2 is best. This defends a rook on done. This attacks the knight.
Bishop captures on d4.
Rook captures on d4 is the best move.
Queen to a5 is best. This defends a knight on a fur.
I played king to g2 to prepare for the potential pawn to d5 push, supporting the central pawn and controlling the kingside. This move also eyes the black king, putting pressure on the d file and preparing for a potential rook lift.
Pawn to d5 is good. Queen to b5 is best.
Queen captures on d5.
I played queen captures on d5 to take advantage of the pin on the knight, forcing Malik to recapture with a potentially weakened pawn structure, while also putting pressure on his position and preparing for further development.
Rook captures on d5 is best.
I played knight to c3 to support the central pawn on pawn to c4 and prepared to develop the rest of the pieces. This move also pins the knight on c6, making it harder for Malik to attack my pawn structure.
Rook to f5.
Preparing to develop the kingside pieces and control the pawn to d5 square. Pawn to f6 also slightly weakens the kingside pawn structure, but it's a common move in the symmetrical variation of the English opening.
Pawn to h4 is best.
King to f7 is a prophylactic move to prevent the potential pin on the knight on f6, while also supporting the pawn on pawn to e4 and preparing to develop the rest of the pieces. It also slightly weakens the kingside, but is a necessary move to maintain a balanced position.
King to h2 is the best move.
Knight to b5 is best. This attacks the rook.
Rook to d3 is the best move.
Bishop to f5.
Rook to d2 is excellent. This defends a pawn on upward. Rook to d5 is best. This attacks the bishop. This move gains a tempo.
Rook to e7.
Pawn to f4.
Knight to c3 is best. This attacks the pawn. This move gains a tempo.
I played pawn to f5 to challenge black's control of the queenside and prepare to potentially push d4, while also eyeing the pawn to b5 pawn and preparing to play b4. This move also slightly weakens my pawn structure, but I believe the potential benefits outweigh the costs.
Bishop to e4 is best. This offers a trade. This pins a piece of the opponent to the king.
Rook to da.
Bishop captures on f3 check.
I played king captures on f3 to challenge Malik's pawn structure and create a potential weakness on the king side. The move also pins the knight on g4, making it difficult for Malik to attack my king.
Pawn to h5 is the best move.
Bishop to e3 is the best move.
I played knight to d4 check to attack black's pawn on d5, creating a pin on black's knight on d5, forcing black to move their knight and potentially weakening their pawn structure.
King to g2.
Rook to e6 is a solid move, attacking the black pawn on pawn to d5 and preparing to develop the rest of the pieces. It also puts pressure on the black position, forcing them to respond to the potential threat.
Rook to a7 check.
I played king to g8 to prevent a potential check on my king, maintaining a safe distance and controlling the e-file for future pawn breaks.
Pawn to h5 is excellent. Rook to 8 check is best.
Rook to c6 is good. Pawn to h6 is best.
Bishop to e3 is the best move.
I played knight to c2 to support the central pawn on pawn to c4 and prepared to develop the rest of the pieces. This move also puts pressure on black's position, making it harder for them to maneuver.
Bishop to b6 is best. This defends a pawn on a5.
Knight to b4 is the best move.
Rook to 8 check is best. The game is over. It ended in a draw.